Israel's aerial dominance is being challenged in a way that it's never been challenged before. They've stood as the Goliath in the air forces of the Middle East, but this is shifting just as much as the sands in the Middle East shift every single day. But this air war rages on, and it's going to impact Israel in ways that they've probably never even seen before. So in this video, we're going to dive into those specific ways and the specific countries that are really challenging Israel's aerial dominance. So Israel's establishment happened in 1948, and since they've gotten on the scene as a formidable air force in the Middle East, they've literally ruled the skies without much competition. But with the new adversaries that are approaching Israel, or not even adversaries, just strong nations that are emerging in the Middle East, Israel's no longer necessarily the sole powerhouse of air forces in the Middle East. Hey guys, quick break from the video. Have you heard of the Apple Vision Pro? Of course you have, because you're alive and it's 2024. Well, you can win this Apple Vision Pro. All you gotta do is click the link in the description, buy a limited edition collectible, and you'll be automatically entered to win this Apple Vision Pro. But it's a limited time offer, so you got to get in before the date that's listed in the description. So click that right now so you can get set up to have this bad boy at your house, flying sims with it, whatever you want to do. Highly recommend the Apple Vision Pro. I'm going to be making content with it as well, so check out that link in the description. This thing's just sweet. All right, back to the video. So it's essentially like the skies above the Middle East are turning into a high-octane version of Top Gun. Just instead of volleyball, they're playing soccer, and they definitely still appreciate Tom Cruise. So we're going to jump into those countries right now that are essentially challenging Israel's dominance on a daily basis. Let's talk about Iran. We got to start off with the one that is probably the biggest enemy to Israel. And unfortunately, these two have been battling for decades. But when it comes to Iran, they're kind of a hodgepodge of fighter jets. I mean, you don't get many countries that have Chinese and Russian fighter jets flying side by side with American legacy fighter jets like the F-14, the F-4. Now Israel's actually challenged by something that's very close to the F-5, which is the Hesa Kausar, which is being developed by Iran. Now, some say this is just a trainer jet to get Iran ready for when the Su-35 rolls in there, which is probably happening at the time of this video being made, which is a huge step for Iran because they're essentially getting a jet that will have a reliable supply chain, most likely, as long as their relations with Russia and Sukhoi remain positive. They can get parts for these Su-35s and essentially finally have a reliable fourth generation fighter. And now they're actually going to be able to put something up into the skies that can compete with Israel's fourth generation fighters like their F-16I and their F-15I. Now when it comes to the F-35I, the Adir, this Su-35's not going to be able to stand in the same arena with the F-35, but it will be able to go up against those fourth generation fighters. So now we've actually got a plot for a Middle Eastern Top Gun. So prior to 1979, Iran had a good relationship with the United States, and the United States was providing them with fighter jets. Most likely, if that good relationship would have continued, then Iran would have gotten the F-16 and who knows, F-15, some version of the F-15EX. But as soon as relations deteriorated after about 1979 and post the Islamic Revolution, Iran stopped getting any parts from the United States, and then they started transitioning into other ideas, which has finally, after decades, led them to join forces with Russia and get those Su-35s that I talked about earlier. But really, Iran's way of operating is just under the radar. Their air force is essentially like a little mini spy novel within itself. They try to keep everything they do extremely close hold. So the fact that the whole world now knows about the Su-35, I mean, this is something that was going to break anyways. So they've essentially shown their cards and shown that, hey, we've got a fourth generation fighter and we're ready to battle it out. So Iran, Tehran, Iran, got it, I'll work on the pronunciation, but at the end of the day, Tehran is set up to challenge Israel in a way that we've never seen before. Next, we'll talk about Syria, and they're essentially known as the Syrian Arab Air Force, and they're part of a regime that has been holding on to power amidst a civil war for the last few years. The Syrian Arab Air Force is known to have somewhere around 450 aircraft according to recent intelligence estimates, and they're pretty much legacy MiG fighters like the MiG MiG-21, the MiG-23, potentially some MiG-25s. And actually, as of the time of this video, I've come across some information that shows that potentially the Syrian Air Force has MiG-29s. Now, the feasibility of getting those MiG-29s airborne, it's not something that's going to be extremely easy for them to do, just based on the lack of parts and maintenance. But they do now have a refreshed relationship with Russia, which most likely is going to mean more MiG-29 parts. But as Russia deals with its own sanctions, its own supply line issues, it's probably putting parts for the MiG-29 for the Syrian Air Force on the very, very far back of the back burners. But this Syrian Air Force is essentially operating every single day, striking rebel groups that are supported by the US, Israel, and other nations. But they're tested every single day going up against these groups. So even though their jets are old, most likely there's a lot of experience within their ranks. Next, let's talk about the Egyptian Air Force. And you might be surprised to know that the Egyptian Air Force has roughly 1,000 aircraft, and that includes fixed wing and rotary aircraft. But they've actually got a good relationship with the United States over the last few years, and they've gotten the F-16. They've also gotten the Dassault Mirage, so they've got this combination Air Force for fighters as far as fighters go, with the Mirage and the F-16, so pretty decent combination of aircraft, fourth generation fighters that can help them defend against any fourth generation threat that they might find in the Middle East. They've also created some Russian collaborations with the Ka-52 helicopter, but so far from the research I've done, it looks like the Russian collaborations have stayed rotary wing and they haven't moved into any of the Russian MiGs or flankers. So far they're sticking with the Dassault, the Mirage, and the F-16 from the United States. And breaking news at the time of this video coming out, as of 2022, there's some back channels that show that Egypt has actually acquired a version of the F-15, whether those have been delivered or not, or whether they're future orders. Some version of the F-15EX would be my guess. It looks like that's actually on the table and most likely going to happen for Egypt, which is going to significantly level up their Air Force. Now let's talk about the United Arab Emirates. They're not just massive skyscrapers that basically touch space or fake islands that have been built out of nowhere. They're creating an Air Force that, from what I can tell, has a significant amount of quantity, but even more than that, they have a significant amount of quality. It's like they've essentially decided that they're only going to drive Bugattis, Lotuses, and Ferraris when it comes to their aircraft, and they're buying the absolute most modern aircraft from the United States than pretty much any other nation in the Middle East besides Israel. And the UAE boasts over 500 high-quality, latest model F-16s, F-15s, and they have an Air Force that is essentially utilizing the utmost in technology, buying aircraft of the highest quality caliber that the U.S. actually exports. So the U.S. exports a lot of different aircraft, but the highest quality, from what I can tell, is going to the UAE. And it's worth saying that the UAE is definitely not a direct competitor to Israel necessarily. They're really just a balancing force in the Middle East, and from what I can tell, most of their focus is on a defensive posture. They do a lot of exercises with the United States, and they create a situation in the Middle East where they can kind of be a balancing power to Iran more than anything else. Next, we'll talk about Libya. Libya has basically been in a state of disrepair for a long time now, since Gaddafi was ousted from power by a drone, basically took him out. But it looks like they have about 150 aircraft, and their Air Force is kind of just a hodgepodge of different things, not looking too great for Libya at the moment. They're more focused on rotary wings, from what I can tell, using some Russian legacy rotary wing helicopters. But it looks like they want to create a relationship with the United States where they could eventually get something like the F-16, but it looks like just the upheaval and the way that things are going in that country right now is probably not high up on the list of the US to export fighters to. So one thing's for sure when it comes to air forces in the Middle East, not just Israel is at the top of the hill anymore. Hey guys, quick reminder about the Apple Vision Pro. Just click the link in the description and you'll be taken to a site to buy a limited edition collectible. When you buy that, that'll automatically enter you to win this Apple Vision Pro right here. Do it by the date that's listed in the description though, because it's a limited edition deal. By the way, I partnered with a veteran-owned company to bring this to you. So by going to that link, buying that collectible, you'll be supporting me, supporting this channel, and you'll be supporting a veteran-owned company, and you'll be entering yourself to win this Apple Vision Pro. Do so by the date listed in the description. Thanks guys, thanks for checking out the Apple Vision Pro giveaway. Now back to the video. Now, certainly they're still at the very tip top, but there's other nations getting closer like Iran, UAE, potentially even Saudi Arabia, which we didn't cover in this video. Saudi has some pretty formidable aircraft, especially the F-15E, and they've got versions of that which are very high quality when it comes to their avionics. We'll save that for a different video, but at the end of the day, the skies above the Middle East are no longer dominated by one nation, Israel. There's so many different challenges to Israel right now that either it's gonna be other nations coming up and becoming level with Israel, or that competition is going to drive Israel to go even higher and create even further adaptations in their air supremacy. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please check out another video over here. I'll see you on that next video. Most of all, have a great day.